Hey, Representative Andrew Learned here. So we are going to Tallahassee next week for a special session on property insurance, which is really your homeowners rents. I've been calling for this since we failed to pass it during session. All the culture wars got in the way. I was the first member of the House to call for reforms because people are pissed. Rates are going up 2-3 times in many cases. People are getting dropped. Folks are required to get roofs every 10 years. Perfectly good roofs getting replaced. So we got a crisis on our hands. We're trying to fix it. So right now we're going to go in and talk to my friend Kevin with Great Florida Insurance here in Brandon. He's been a friend of mine for 10 years talking about these issues. We're going to give a different perspective in another few days from a lawyer who represents people who are going through roof damage claims. So we're going to hear from both sides on this issue, but dig in. It's a complicated issue. It's not clear. It's not partisan, but we're going to try to do our best for the people of Florida next week, and we're trying to do our homework now. Well, I like this place already because Kevin's got a stationary bike here, so we can tell we're going to be good. Kevin and I have known each other since the Chamber of Commerce 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was starting my company, and he was a
BNI too.
Yep, and BNI. So anyway, he is an insurance agent. He works here at Great Florida Insurance, Brandon, right across from the Brandon Mall. And I wanted to just give him an opportunity to talk about the property and homeowners insurance market as he sees it, the crisis that's happening to his clients with their rates. And with that, Kevin, I'll give it over to you.
It's rates are skyrocketing. Availability of coverage is a big problem.
What do you mean by skyrocket? I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Fishhawk. What should I expect from 5 years ago to today and tomorrow?
If I looked at, I can look on a computer and see rates were stable for years. We didn't have massive rate increases. In fact, I've seen some small decreases, but in the last 3 years, it's just 3 steps up. My premium on my house, I have a 3,200 square foot house built in 2003. My premium was always around $1,200, $1,500, went to $1,900, now $3,800. I put a new roof on my house 2 days ago, paid for it myself. I didn't commit insurance fraud or listen to these guys knocking on the door telling me it's going to be $1,000. Paid for it myself, and I went to look at new coverage, $4,600, I think.
With the new roof.
With the new roof on it.
$1,000 more with
than
the new
with
roof.
So I'm staying with my existing carrier.
Yeah.
They didn't non-renew me. It was a 19-year-old roof. It's time I put a new roof on this house. You can't expect a good one I get from customers is, I have a lifetime shingle. Dude, I got a lifetime body. I got gray hair now. It ain't the same as what it used to be.
Sure.
That's the same as a roof. Things age, things fall apart. You got to replace your AC, your hot water heater, repaint your house. The roof is something you need to do.
Sure.
But a roof that's now $22,000 I paid, if there's some guy knocking on my door telling me, hey, we got you free, we got your neighbor down there, a new roof, there's some storm damage, we had a hailstorm come through a couple weeks ago, maybe we can get you one, and he's only paying $1,000. That's a pretty interesting...
Understandable why a consumer would take that offer, right?
Yeah, and people, granted, they've been paying insurance premiums forever, and it's time, let's get some of that money back. That's what the consumer's thinking. But an insurance policy is not a home maintenance policy. An insurance policy helps repair or replace your home if there's an unexpected event, like wind. Now, in an insurance policy in Florida, you have wind from summer storms, and then you have wind from hurricanes. If it's a named storm, it falls under your hurricane deductible. If it is a summertime, it falls under your AOP, all other peril deductible. Insurance carriers, if it's a named storm, it goes under their cat losses. Their cat loss is reinsured by reinsurance. Yep. These claims...
for people following at home, that means, so when this is insurance for insurance companies, right?
Exactly.
So, the people that you sell your premium or pay your premium to and reimburse you when you have a claim, if they get hit by a storm, they might not be able to weather, a Category 5 hurricane coming through one of their service areas. So they buy insurance for those events, and the rates for that is going up too, right?
And the availability, that's a whole nother thing. So kind of back to what I was saying, those claims that are in a hurricane event fall into that reinsurance. These claims that are from the hailstorms and the windstorms that we supposedly have, those fall out, those get paid out of their reserves. This is a man-made crisis.
We haven't had a hurricane in a couple years.
And the insurance companies would feel a lot better if they could put those claims through reinsurance, but they can't. So they're paying it out of reserves. Thus, the end result is 3 companies going bankrupt since January, a 4th's teetering.
And what does that mean when a company goes bankrupt? That just means less options for your clients, right?
And Floridians in general. What companies are doing is, if your home is under 10 years old, they'll look at it, and we can quote it. If it's over 10 years old, they don't want it. I have one company that's only going to take homes 5 years and younger, because they only want new construction because it reduces their risk. So,
and that just seems wasteful to me, right? Nobody's going to benefit from rebuilding the entire state of Florida in a couple of years. These are perfectly good homes. They just, maybe need some.
And in the past, they'd insure them.
Yeah.
But now, because they're getting burned on all this roof fraud, they're just not going to take it anymore.
And let's talk about that for a second. So one of the things that I have found startling in learning about this is Florida is 8% of all claims for homeowners insurance. So there's 50 states. We're the 3rd largest state. So being 8% of the overall for the nation seems to make a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. But we are at the same time 79% of all lawsuits filed nationwide. So we have a huge litigation problem, and at the end of the day, like, we all want people to have their right to a courtroom if they had a problem, but there is a cost to that, and what you're seeing with that cost is these rising premiums. Is that
rising premiums and less availability? I have countless customers that call me, Kevin, my rate's doubled. I mean, it went from $1,500 to $3,000, and these are retirees, hardworking, honest taxpayers that may not be able to stay in their homes now because the insurance premiums have skyrocketed. Or my answer to them is, well, I can try to get you another carrier, but you're going to have to get a new roof on your house. The roof's only 16 years old. That really in itself is a bad thing, but it's the reality that we're living in, because those older roofs become targets. My neighborhood, during the pandemic, I was working at home. I had countless people knock on my door because what? My home was built.
Working at home.
Yeah. Working at home. My home was built in 03. So my roof then at that point was 17 years old. Perfect time to get that knock on the door. And I mean, get off my grass. I mean, and I told my neighbors, I said, that guy's a scam. Don't fall for it. So 3 of us got together. We know we needed new roofs. We went out, we negotiated with the best price. The retired guy handled most everything. And we honestly put new roofs on our house. There are a couple neighbors who fell for it. But now we're really paying for his roof.
Exactly.
With the increase in premium. It's a hidden tax. But
this is the hard part that I always, because it is understandable. A professional comes, knocks on your door, says, hey, you've got a, we had this big storm come through. I see some damage. I'd like to give it, they go up, they quote it. Yeah. They talk to an insurance adjuster. The insurance adjuster comes back to the homeowner and says, yep, that's a claim. That's a valid claim. We can do this. Yeah. Let me talk to a lawyer. The lawyer says, yeah, you got a solid case against your insurance company. Like, if you're the homeowner in that sense, you're like, wow, I had said 3 professionals all give me a professional opinion that I can get a free roof. Like, it's hard to fault the consumer for taking that deal, but at the end of the day, like, you're right, it's that person just got a free roof, great, wonderful for them, but all the neighbors that
end up paying for it
are the
and all those other hardworking taxpayers pay.
And the other thing too that one of the things that I've learned about insurance too is it's a regulated industry. The profit margins are capped, so they can only get so much. So if their costs are going up, that means you're going to pay more. It's just the way it's going to work in a private insurance market.
One carrier, for every $100 they took in, they paid out $117. That's unsustainable in Florida, because then you throw on the reinsurance premium. Insurance companies have to negotiate this. And the reinsurance market, a lot of it's offshore in Bermuda, London, Zurich. they're not real excited about Florida. And folks, if we can't get favorable reinsurance rates, we are screwed. And this industry we're gonna pay more and more. And the state of Florida cannot continue to build up this cat fund we have, because we're all gonna pay for it.
I want to give you an opportunity real quick, two last points, to talk about citizens. So a lot of times when you can't write with a private insurer, you put somebody in the citizens market. What does that mean for that consumer, and what's it mean for Florida overall when you put people in Citizens?
Well, Citizens is owned by the state of Florida. We as taxpayers and citizens own it. So if they can't meet their claims, the state of Florida, the law says you can assess the taxpayers. So you'll see on your insurance premium, I forget what the acronym is, but they'll assess it. Now, we had it for years and then it went away because we had hurricanes. Now it's coming back and it could get even worse. Citizens is designed to kind of be a holding shell, so to speak, where they want to take those policies and eventually put them back in the private market.
Yeah.
So they want to take good risk to make it attractive to go back in the private market. But if you're taking all the garbage in, that's a death spiral of underwriting. And actuarial science, there's a phrase, adverse selection. If you bring in adverse risk, you're screwed. And we as taxpayers are going to have that. So Citizens' original mission was to take those homes that we couldn't find in the private market, and it was a smaller market when we had more competition in the public sector. And now they're taking all this stuff in. The private market isn't going to be able to absorb these policies that they eventually wanted, that Citizens wanted to move out. I had a conversation with a Citizens underwriter the other day, and she said, you have to remember, we were designed to take risk in and then make it attractive to be taken out. And that's why people get their takeout offers from Citizens. And they have the option to stay with Citizens or go with a private market company. And I don't see a lot of takeout happening anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Last thing, and I know this is kind of weird, stepping back a little bit, because I completely agree with you about the litigation problem that we have in this
78% of
nationwide claims.
Well, no, but 78% of roof claims go into litigation.
Oh,
And
interesting. Okay.
Bob Ritchie he's the president of American Integrity. I was on one of his webinars, and he was saying, this was before the previous session, that some of these claims came attached with a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So and I've had a local plaintiff attorney, you and I both know who he is, tell me the roof claim is just the conduit to get into the courtroom. That's where the big money is, not the roof claim. And we spoke about the other local attorney that you mentioned. There are legitimate roof claims out there where people have issues. But when you're committing roof fraud as a conduit to get in the courtroom and make money, you can't have 78% of roof claims become litigated.
Yeah.
There's a reason behind that, and the big money
and thousands a day.
Exactly.
At this point, yeah.
And then you have the fee multiplier. So the attorney's fee, if they win the case, gets multiplied 3 times. It's big money for them. I think there was some other figure, and I don't quote me on the time span of it, but it was $15 billion in claims were paid out. $5 billion went to the property owner, $10 billion went to the litigator.
The lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think those people making a lot of money on these this frauds, frankly, that you were saying, they're coming for me. So
that's one of the reasons I'm going to support you this year, Andrew.
This is the world we're living in.
Yeah.
I do want to step back real quick, because part of this story is, storms are becoming more frequent and they're becoming more severe due to climate change, right? And I think the insurance market, and especially the reinsurance market that we talked about briefly, like, they're seeing that. So how much, I know there's a piece of this that's about the lawyers, there's a piece of this about the cat fund, so it's going to be an incredibly complicated special session.
Right.
I don't think any of it's really clear cut. How much is climate change, what, if anything, can we do about that from a homeowner insurance perspective, or is it, we need to
You
get
can-
solar panels and try to, cut emissions long term? But what's the short term fix?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for that. All I can give you answers on is what I'm dealing with on a daily basis with hardworking people that are just trying to make their mortgages, feed their families, and now rates are going way up. That's a good question. I don't have an answer
That's
for that.
perfectly fair.
Yeah.
And
Reinsurance rates, but back to that, reinsurance rates will go up because of that, but the hurricane premium on a policy is a small piece of that $2,000
Yeah.
premium. And that's where the reinsurance is, in that the rest of it is all other peril. The most common claim in America is a water claim. And then you have we haven't even talked about AOB, the assignment of benefits.
How they moving it to the lawyer? Yeah.
Yeah, and you're signing that whole claim over to the adjuster, and you've lost your rights. And that was a
and then
big
the
problem.
homeowners in a lawsuit they don't even know about.
The lawsuit could go on. One carrier is going to offer their customers binding arbitration, where you have the option now in your policy, and this came out a couple weeks ago, where you have the option to elect binding arbitration, or you can continue on the litigated path if you have a claim. Binding arbitration, if they select that, it discounts their policy. The premium discount comes off the non-hurricane premium. And the binding arbitration, if you had a problem with your claim, the court would appoint the the arbitrator, and it would have to be settled, I think, in 120 days. So that there's not this long drawn out suit, and it's binding.
Yeah.
And there's no cost to the policyholder. Now, if they want to bring an attorney to the arbitration, they can bring it at their own cost.
Sure.
But those are things that insurance companies are trying to do to get this litigation down. But again, it's going to come to you guys in the legislature.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry to dump it on you, man.
Hey, I do, Kevin, seriously, thank you for doing this. I
Yeah.
think what you said, especially there at the end about hurricane premiums and everything, we are just going into hurricane season now.
Yeah.
The eye of Hurricane Charlie went straight over my house. A tree fell straight through my bedroom roof. We had to get the whole thing done. So, I've lived the nightmare of that. And at the same time, what's happening now is we haven't had a bad hurricane in a couple of years, and we are still in this crisis. So what's scary to me is things are likely to get worse before they get better if we don't really get drastic and fix some things in the special session.
Thank God that special session was called when it was. Irma was interesting, and I think you guys changed this in the prior session, where hurricane claims could go 3 years.
Yep.
If you
we reduced that
to
last
2
year
years.
in Senate Bill 76, which is a bill that I candidly broke party ranks to vote for that because I thought it was a desperately needed problem.
Thank you. And to me, if I can't see hurricane damage on my house after 24 months, it smells like fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd know if I had damage.
Yep.
I'd see a leak, I'd see something.
Well, before we go, if somebody has a problem with their homeowners insurance, who should they call?
Call Kevin Swanson at Great Florida Insurance in Brandon.
Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.